Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Breakfast Extra once again for a December Sunday morning. Now, I'm about to tell a very familiar story, but I think I'm going to come at it from a very unpopular angle. Before we dive in, however, Merry Christmas in advance. And let's thank good old Father Christmas himself, Aliko Dangote, for bringing down petrol prices, at least just by a notch. Ho, ho, ho. Or maybe it's actually because, see, there are weeks in Nigeria when nothing really shocks you. And then there are weeks that remind you that we're still very capable of very big surprises. And last week was one of those weeks. Because whenever something moves very quickly in this country, you should stop whatever it is that you're doing and pay attention. Because speed is not our usual style. Now, a senior government official woke up with a job one morning and then went to bed without one. There was no drama, there was no public investigation, just a new name waiting quietly on his desk the next morning. Now, that alone should raise eyebrows. Because this is the same system where files sleep on tables for years, where they say we're looking into it can last forever. So when things suddenly begin to move with speed, it means something serious is happening, or maybe someone powerful has spoken. Now let's rewind a bit. The story started with a voice, a Nigerian voice, a voice that we know so well, a voice that owns cement, it owns sugar, and now it owns oil. Ho, ho, ho. Aliko Dangote, he accused engineer Ahmed Farouk, head of the NMDPRA, of corruption. And not any petty corruption, no. This is a kind of corruption that involves foreign schools, foreign currency, and figures that make Nigerians sit upright and shout, "Hail!" And then nothing. No evidence, no documents, just silence. And then speed. No public investigation, no process, just a call, a meeting behind closed doors, and engineer Farouk's immediate resignation before the public could even have time to digest the accusation. Just like that. Then, in the same breath announcing Farouk's exit, the presidency announced his replacement. No gaps, no vacuum once again, and no, we will announce the new head of the NMDPRA, nothing like that. Quick. Everything was already ready. Now, at this point, you don't need to be a cynic. You just need to be a Nigerian, because things don't get ready overnight unless they were already ready. People don't leave quietly unless decisions had already been made in places. But here's the uncomfortable question, the unpopular angle, one that puts aside whether the corruption claims against Farouk are true or not. If the presidency can move this fast, when powerful businessmen like Aliko Dangote raises an issue, then why does it suddenly develop a knee injury when the issue is insecurity, or when the issue is hunger, or millions of young people with no jobs? What happens when the people crying are not powerful is the question that we should be asking. Villagers facing bandits, young people looking for work. On those issues, the government suddenly needs time. They need meetings, committees, patience, good luck, sometimes even Jonathan. And that difference matters. It tells every regulator and every citizen something very clear, even if nobody is saying it out loud. It tells them that your job is not protected by the law alone. Otherwise, in this case, there would have been an investigation. It's not protected by procedure. Otherwise, there would have been inquiry. And it's not even protected by competence. Otherwise, there would have been accountability. Your job is protected by the size of the foot that you are about to step on. And in this case, this foot also whispered, "I know what you did last summer, and I'm ready to implicate everyone down the line." And maybe that is the real reason Engineer Farouk was removed, to break that chain before it reached any further. Now remember, I'm not defending anyone, I'm not holding brief for anybody. I'm asking about process, or rather, in this case, the sheer lack of it. Because once you understand that this is not really about whether Farouk was corrupt or not, something begins to sink in. When people, or when simple accusations can cause this level of change at this speed, people stop acting with courage and start acting with fear. And that is how authentic regulations die, how authentic regulatory systems begin to rot. Regulators begin to ask, who am I dealing with here? Before they say, this is the law. This is how regulation turns into acting. This is how power behaves in Nigeria, how it moves, what it responds to, and who it is willing to implicate when it wants something done now. So the truth is, Dangote may not be acting solely for yours and my benefit. It may also be about securing a multi-billion-dollar investment of his own and being willing to get down dirty to do it. But one thing is now clear, and that is that this government can move fast, very fast, in fact, when it is touched in the right places. So the next time they tell us to be patient while Nigerians are dying, while Nigerians are struggling or waiting, we should remember this past week. Because sometimes it's not that Nigeria is slow, it is that she's selective. And that selection, ladies and gentlemen, should tell you everything you need to know. So, Merry Christmas. Welcome to Breakfast Extra. Let's take a break, and in a minute, I'll be joining Judith, and we'll be starting the show in earnest.
And a very good morning to you, and welcome once again to Breakfast Extra. As always, we've got the show that you need for a Sunday morning. Today we open with the Super Eagles and the road to the 2025 Africa Cup of Nations. And the head of our sports desk, and that's Babatunde Koiki, will join us later on to examine expectations, pressure, and what Nigerians should realistically hope for, which is disappointment. Only time will tell. Now, from football to security, Bello Turji, he will be joining us to talk about peace talks and just a number of issues that concern insecurity. We'll also be discussing with Dr. Bashir Kofuru as well as Yahazu Gatsu. They would help us understand the security strategy as it concerns public trust here in Nigeria. And from there, we switch gears to education as Unity schools are back in session. Yusuf Abubakar, who is an educationist, will join us later to break down safety concerns, preparedness, and how to keep learning uninterrupted in precarious times like this. And afterwards, we will bring you our big report for today. Sumaya Abubakar, our correspondent live in Abuja, is investigating pension administration as PENCOM disburses 577 billion naira to over 1 million Nigerians. And we're asking, how well is the system truly working for retirees? And then we will close with Focus Africa as we examine the collapse of a peace deal in eastern DR Congo and what it signals for regional stability. As always, we've got quite the lineup for you right here because the conversations that matter start here on Breakfast Extra. But as always, we have to start with dailies with Mazino. You definitely, if you didn't catch Mazino's monologue,
yeah.
Shame on you.
Well, that was a very interesting one. Once again, thank you, Aliko Dangote, for being Father Christmas this year, 2025. Reducing fuel prices is whatever. And I think everybody wants to save that little 200
naira. You should stop talking from both sides of your mouth. You said it caused traffic yesterday, yes or no?
See, listen, we'd like to clarify in our council. So he did cause traffic.
Okay.
But at what cost? At the cost of lowering fuel prices. I think every Nigerian is very, very happy about that. So thank you very much, ho, 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 Santa Claus, Aliko Dangote. But thank you for increasing our viewership this morning. No, Bello Turji wouldn't be joining us. We're talking about his admittance to not collecting that 30 million naira that's been bandied about.
Yeah.
But that's a very interesting conversation. There Santa Claus is. Thank you very much, Santa Claus. If you guys don't recognize the face, replace the red hat with a fila. Is it called a fila? The northern cap, and then a kaftan, and you'd know who that is. That's actually Aliko Dangote in Santa Claus regalia, let's put it so. So we're looking forward to plenty of conversation today. I think we'll be touching on that one just a bit, and of course many others for today. But first off, ladies and gentlemen, let's go to the dailies for this morning, and I bet you we're starting with the Sunday Punch as we put that up on your screen. So for this morning, Sunday Punch has these headlines. Alleged alterations. Presidency kicks as Atiku Obi fight tax laws. I don't think it's just them who are fighting tax laws. It's every single Nigerian. And there's so much to actually talk about when it comes to the tax laws. No going back on January 1st implementation, says the presidency. Alterations dangerous for our democracy, Atiku says. It's like, I would describe the reform as trying to take off a plane on a very bad runway. What it is whatever it is that you have on ground, the structures, even the citizens, we're not ready for this. And you're still prepping this plane up for takeoff, which is going to be very bad for the systems, very bad for the reform itself.
Right.
But we wait to see. At the top for the Sunday Punch, Forest Guards, interagency rift stalls Tinubu's recruitment order. And PDP, Wike Makinde forces adamant despite INEC's intervention. NNPC refinery probe drags as EFCC keeps mum on suspects. We want to know. And inside open drug markets where medicines lose potency. Terrorists don't represent any religion, says Tambuwal. Many will argue, and I'll actually argue for that. My family bought Lagos house for 100 naira in 1978, says 80-year-old ex-diplomat's wife. And I think I remember my father bought his for about 4,953 naira, somewhere in Festac. We admit 30 new patients daily, Lagos Neuropsychiatric Hospital MD says. I want to touch on that for a bit. I live in Festac, where we are beginning to note a rise in the number of mentally challenged people on the streets. And it's very concerning. I don't know if this is a stat of what's happening with Nigerians lately, but you find that there are so many people who are out there who are homeless and in need of medical attention, and it's beginning to grow. Is it the same where you live? Are you beginning to see a rise in these cases?
So, there's always been issues with homelessness in that we've seen. I think that we just have turned a blind eye, right? Yesterday when we were riding around, I mistakenly took a wrong turn, and then the person saw us crying, like, just keep going. And I was like, oh no, but we can still turn back. And then they're like, you can't, that they'll come out of the dark. And so I think that it's not necessarily about the areas. I think that there's always been homelessness. It's just we have turned a blind eye for it for far too long.
People in need of mental health.
Yeah. But now what we're seeing and what we are not addressing, the Godzilla in the room, is that there is a spike in drug abuse amongst young Nigerians, and there is a spike in betting addiction that has forced people to be disowned, ostracized, and have sold out and be depressed, and also sold out all of their belongings. And now they are stuck on the roads, on the streets, sleeping, living off the street, and also begging for alms.
You're not very wrong. You're not wrong at all, because these people also resort to drugs as well, and then you'd mistake them for mentally challenged people.
Yeah, so Festac, we know this, and we've seen this, and reports have showed, even when, I think 2 years ago, a year ago, one of the biggest drug busts was in Festac town. So we know that Festac, we know parts of Lagos Island, and we also know that parts of Surulere as well, and some hot boards, which it shares the border with Mushin, all these areas. And also when you go on the other side, on Oshode Papa Expressway, you go straight to Ago Palace Way, which takes a very straight road. So when you look at all those networks and you see those people languishing on the road, 9 times out of 10, and I guarantee you, it's an addiction problem.
Wow. Did you know this out of research or experience?
A lot of the headlines. The headlines always tell you. Yeah, I wish it was experience. But
no, you don't wish so.
I shouldn't wish for. Sorry. Okay, well, moving on.
What other paper do we have, Judith?
Yeah.
The Guardian, is it?
Let's go to Sunday.
The Vanguard, actually.
Vanguard, there we go. We're moving to the Vanguard newspaper. And for the Vanguard, the very first one that jumps at you, surplus rice, price crash, hope dashed. Interesting. Farmers, millers lament investment woes. You can find the story on page 13. Look, one thing about capitalists, I love them. I enjoy why they're wooing with their surplus rice and price have crashed and hopes have been down. Anyway, let me not speculate just based off of the headlines. At the top there was ransom paid to secure kidnapped school children's release. Amnesty raises fresh query. You can find that story on page 16. CDC issues alert as new super flu strain spreads globally. That story is on page 7. CSOs raise alarm over treatment of Kano anti-corruption fighter. That story is on page 5 as well. Payments into private account, tinted glass permit controversy. That story is on page 8 of the Sunday Vanguard. 30 December, frenzy as Tinubu storms Lagos. That story is on page 5. Look, let's moving on.
I'm going to body loan after this.
I've already bought Tapolin and tent. I'm sitting right outside. I was calling my own.
He is known to be generous at these festive periods.
The reason why I'm going to be outside. See why I said I needed experience in homelessness. Moving on from Iyanoworo to Oworo. More homes are gone. What remains is rubbles. Governor Sanwo-Olu, help us stop destruction. You can find that story on pages 32 and page 34. Very interesting that the NPR of America has also picked up that story as well of the demolitions that we've seen across Iyanoworo. But we must state here that News Central was the first, and big shout outs to Ife Robo. He has been on that story for the last month and a half. At the bottom there, 11 days to tax reform. Will my bank account be blocked from January 1st, 2026 if I don't have TIN? 25 facts about new tax regime. That story is on page 8. Banditry kidnapping strategies to destabilize Nigeria. Tinubu's government prophet Ojo. That's you can find the story on page 39. And that's pretty much all the major headlines here on the Sunday Vanguard.
So let's move to the Sunday Independent. And big story, as we talked about this inside of our monologue, NMDPRA, NUPCR CEO's resignation. Nigerians seek forensic probe of oil sector agencies. Lawyers, activists want Tinubu to act swiftly. Accountability. This is what Nigeria lacks. Every single time we have a resignation of somebody who is saying, oh, because of health reasons, I'm, I'm putting in the towel. That's it. That's where it ends. But we should query further. We should ask, why exactly are they resigning? What happened? Where are the flaws? Where are the gaps? If you don't get these on record, we will only continue to see the same systemic rot every single time. And this should be something, you know what, every single activist who's out there protesting for this or that, this is one thing that I believe that they should actually be on top of. They should ask for accountability when it comes to the NMDPRA, the NUPRC. Find out exactly why these gentlemen resigned, what led to it. If the allegations that were put forward against them are true, we will begin to get results only when we do that. Unfortunately, that might never happen. Now, permission trails PDP as the faction's leadership crisis overwhelms party. It can still bounce back before 2000. I'm holding back a laugh. It can still bounce back before 2027, says Ojo and Kalu. Do you personally, do you think the PDP can bounce back before 2027?
It's impossible.
Okay, Judith, we will watch and see. I actually am on that side of the fence. Tinubu's 2026 budget masks hardship, signals fiscal drift. We have plenty of talk about that one inside of our strips today, so I'll save everything for then. That's all for the front page for the Independent.
Away from Independent to our next front page. And we go to Sunday Sun. Interesting. When I had the name, I thought it was a mistake. Turns out it's not. Sunday Sun, there we go. At the top of the headmaster there, Tinubu not deliberately inflicting pain, hardship on Nigerians. Ibidiro, ex-APC organizing scribe. That's where it's on pages 18 and 19 of the Sunday Sun. Now you see figures like this. Anyway, Atiku Obi lacked finance, sacrificial spirit to challenge president in 2027. What do you mean by, finance, in terms of like financing a campaign against him? Interesting. Right, next to it, U.S. group charges Tinubu to rescue kidnapped ECWA members. Others, once financiers of terrorism named. That story is on page 25. Makinde makes case for true federalism, unity. That story is on page 26. I will retire from politics after my tenure, Oti. And that's, I'm sure that's Alex Oti there of Abia State. You can find that story on page 25. Sislak berates presidency over alleged tax law changes. That story is on page 25. Demands a publication of both tax law versions for verification. Now, look, I hate that as Nigerians we like to push things last minute, but here we are now asking for the fine, minute details of these things in terms of different versions of what the tax law actually entails. At the bottom, the PDP war escalates as factions renew hostilities. Ibadan, Congress, Amala, Ewedu, gathering.
Finish up. Go on.
Oh, no.
Finish your meal.
It says, and this is Orbin from the who's the South chieftain of the PDP. Why we expelled Wike, others, Pierce, Lagos PDP stalwart, says true PDP leaders have taken control of the party. I can find all the stories on pages 20, 21, and 29 of the Sunday Sun. At the bottom, the tinted car permits. This thing is taking center stage. Anger over police enforcement threats. Outrage over insistence on January 2nd date in spite of court order. Lawyers to IGP Egbetokun, you are not above the law. You can find the stories on pages 4 and 5. The lovely lady here, her name is Omoroge. She says, every creator needs a lawyer. That story is on page 3. Pretty much everything here for the Sunday Sun. Let me go see if I can finish my Ewedu as soon as I can.
Well, that's it for the dailies, as much as we can take. Do stay with us. We will begin with a couple of stories in just about a bit here inside of Breakfast Extra for a Sunday installment.
You're welcome back. You're watching Breakfast Extra. As always, it's about time for us to bring you one of your favorite segments on here. Mazino's on standby to give you the major strips for this week. Mazino, take it away.
Thank you very much, Judith. Of course, you are joining me for this session. We've got very interesting strips from last week, all of them indicating one major topic or the other. And our cartoonist from last week, you guys are really good, really good. We're going to display a couple of them here now, and we'll take them and analyze them one after the other. Every single one is packed with meaning, ensconced, big word I learned last week, in implication. Let's put it so. So let's start with our very first one for this morning, the strips for Breakfast Extra. Let's talk about insecurity, state-sponsored or rather just sponsored insecurity. Now, Judith, this is a very interesting theater. I say theater because, of course, you can see the curtains being pulled away and, well, individuals who are, well, they seem to be whining, but not with wine. I bet you that that's blood. You can see on there. This, by the way, is from Business Day. Of course, you know, it is Okpara, who's very good with his depictions here. We have come back for more funds. Let's note these armed men who seem to be gathering the blood that's coming from the dining table of these shrouded men. Let's talk about this. This cartoon is simply depicting what we see going on with insecurity in Nigeria and the call that it is actually being sponsored. But as at yet, we still do not know who these gentlemen are. Not so gentle, because the government, or rather the presidency, has told that you have to, or we have to fish out those sponsoring insecurity. But one thing you have to note here is that this also tells that they are ex-governors, so they know who they are. But yet we don't have any real names, a few, but real names that have been implicated here. We continue to see this instance happen in Nigeria where insecurity is a cycle. It's like part of the budget. It's being funded. And of course, with the armed bandits here still gathering from the proceeds, it's a profit type of system where lives are the collateral, wasted lives, people, security forces, and all who have died. What's going on, Nigeria? When will this theater end? When will we see true action when it comes to security? Like we saw last week with the NMDPRA. Why is it taking so long? Why is it bringing such international attention? We're rotting. That's the main point when it comes to insecurity. Your thoughts, Judith, please.
It's very interesting that they labeled the gentlemen who are having
They're not gentlemen, they're not gentle, Joe.
They labeled them ex-governor. It's very interesting that they do that. And right behind them, you can see the bags of what appears to be cash besides them. And of course, the mercenaries of violence and chaos is bowing to them with, you know, mopping what is left from their ruins. Look, my own take is, first of all, big shout out to the illustrator who did this. He did a fantastic job. It's very macabre, but also jarring and is in your face to show you really what it is. But my own take from this is the veil that covers this gentleman is quite thin. Very, very thin.
Point.
Right? And so, like you said about, what is taking so long in naming who these people are, I guess that it's not a matter of political will. I guess it's not a matter of intelligence or proactiveness. It's not anything except just not wanting to do it. That's how I see it as.
Or profit. Maybe that profit chain goes further than we actually think, because you're right, that's a very thin veil.
That's a very thin veil. So it's not just wanting to do it, and the question is why. So if your conclusion is profits, maybe, but I also think that if that's an ex-governor, and if giving this illustration that it could be an ex-governor, what we know about the political class is that they are enemies only in the public eye. Behind closed doors, it's just business. You know what I mean? It's just politics. Yeah. Enemies today, BFFs tomorrow.
Exactly.
We've seen it over and over again. So it begs to ask about the political class itself and the ruling 1% of the 1% itself, and why they have chosen not to do this. Is it about protecting themselves? Is it about the future? Is it about the fact that these ex-governors might end up being a tool for their own, in the future? Who knows? I don't know.
Very true.
Yeah.
There are a couple more cartoons that are depicting the same instance on security or insecurity, but we'll get back to them. Let's talk about this one here. Remember the recall of 100,000 policemen from, service to VIPs and all by the president? There's no going back on that one, but critics are saying that, okay, President, we noticed something. We noticed that while you're recalling these policemen from, VIPs and all, there seems to be an inordinate number of orderlies on your, side of things. Not just you, but Office of the President's daughter, Office of the President's son, Office of the First Lady. Let's take a look there at that little red object that officer is holding there. That's his job. That's his entire job. That's what he gets paid for. And it's service only to the family interest. That seems to be the argument now. There's plenty of pushback from the president's orders. Some even from the Senate asking, hey, we do need protection. But while all of that is happening, did you know, Judith, that the DSS have started, members, it is suggested that members of the DSS are clamoring for these positions that are being left vacant. So it doesn't seem like as if it's a very real instance of calling back the authorities or calling back police. It's just simply a change of uniform. But this cartoon here, Bible Lama from Daily Trust, this is Business Day once again, is showing the imbalance when it comes to this order to recall the police from dignitaries or VIPs and call them back into active service. Do you have any take on this one?
Yeah, just very quickly. I want to compare this administration and these personalities that are taking up the FCT, and that's the family of the Tinubu, and compare them to past presidents in this year dispensation of our republic, of our democracy, right? Obasanjo, I didn't hear anything. I mean, the First Lady, God rest her soul, late, Stella Obasanjo, was a completely different figure. But as far as his children, we didn't know anything about them. They were not in the public. They were not public facing. Afterwards, you had Umar Yar'Adua, again, God rest his soul. Same with him. Besides his wife, Turai, we didn't know anything about his children, right? They were not public facing. The same goes for Goodluck Jonathan. In fact, his daughter, if I remember clearly, was living in Calabar at the time I was living in Calabar. There were no sirens. I don't remember any of that. If you move that away...
No public exhibition.
No public exhibitions. If you move that away as well and you go on to the next person after Goodluck, which happens to be Buhari, again, God rest his soul, his children were not public facing. We knew them when you were in Abuja, but they were not that, right? And so it begs to ask the question about what this family is. And it's very it's very tactless, because this was the same daughter who went to Benin and was trying to pull down centuries-old system and saying that their market needs Iyaloja, and trying to pull down old systems that was true to their culture, their tradition, and their heritage, and the office of the Oba of Benin. So there's a lot that has to be said about the Tinubu family and whether or not they have class, and whether, because to me this is just crass and
class or crass?
Yeah, crass.
I heard you. I'm getting information from the producers. I'm not sure. Are we supposed to keep? Do we have any more?
Very quickly, yeah. 5 more. Yeah, we got.
Let's do a couple more. Let's do a couple more. Now, the big monster in the room, insecurity. Once again, I'm not going to talk too much about this one because I want to rush to the tax ones. Allegations, individuals being linked to insecurity. Very small acts compared to the big monster that's behind him. We're going to discuss this later, so I'm actually going to save this. And this has to do with Bello Turji and the allegations that have been made against certain individuals linked to that 30 million naira. So this is actually a depiction of Matawale. So let's talk about this one after. Let's move on now. Once again, we are back on this topic, and this has, when you see it at first, you really don't understand what it's about, because Bulama for Daily Trust always likes to depict his figures using mice. I don't know why. Bulama, what's going on here? So, why do you like mice?
Can I just quickly say that I think the reason why he uses them is that mice, they are very destructive.
Yeah, and very tiny.
Yeah,
they just
and they're very tiny, destructive, and they're such a nuisance, and sometimes you can't get rid of them.
Yeah, exactly the point. Look at this here. These mice are representing public politicians or people who are occupying big offices. Now, it is our suspicion that this here represents what happened only just last week with the head of the NMDPRA, and we're talking about none other than engineer Ahmed Farouk, who seemed to have been, caught, or at least allegedly, there were allegations against him when it comes to corruption. And then you see these other mice like, so he has been stealing funds. He's such a big thief. Now God catch him. But look closely. I didn't see this at first. At their pockets. Each of them have their pockets loaded with what might be stolen funds or proceeds from corruption. And this is Nigeria. Not much to say here. Please, let's move on to the other one, because we want to talk about the taxes that affect every single one of us come January 2026. Are you ready, Judith? Because this is you. Look at that.
It's not me. My head is not that big.
That's a tax net right there. And this is what every single Nigerian is going through currently. We're groaning. We have no escape. We're trapped. Yet, we're crawling toward these paradise we think might be 2026. And guess who's waiting for us there? The Grim Reaper himself, which means,
the tax ripper.
The tax ripper, put it so. It's not going to be any easier for you come 2026, because this island that you thought was going to be El Dorado is going to be El Dorado not for you, but for us. It's a system where we're going to simply just continue to take, not provide much for you, but continue to take. It doesn't seem like hope at all. Sorry to break this to you, you've just landed on Tax Island. That's 2006 there. Renewed tax reform here. You can see the basket on one side just waiting for you with another net. So it implicates a system that is not really empathetic towards the people. Instead, it just simply wants to collect, receive, and milk its people. Not provide the infrastructure, not provide the amenities that these people need to make money to be able to pay these taxes, but just simply say, well, we're just going to take. And we don't care what you guys have going on there, whether there's no light, there's no water, whatever it is, however you're running your industries, we don't care. We're just simply going to take.
Right.
There's more to the tax instance. Before I let you say something, let's move on to the one with the plane. And I'll explain this one. The Guardian has a very interesting way of depicting its editorial cartoons, and it's always on the front page during the week, and I like it because it catches your attention. And this one caught my attention during the week. It's the new tax law. It's a plane. And you can see the engineers all around it trying to get it ready. We'll have this off the ground in no time. And then somebody instructing them, do this, do that, do that. It's the very same picture we see in Nigeria here as we get ready for 2026, and the authorities simply just putting things together, trying to make small little adjustments like as if they really are trying to make adjustments. But notice the plane, notice the tires, see how flat it is. That represents you and I. We're not able to do anything because the system is flat. We can't generate more funds, yet we see a system coming at us for 2026 with more collections, more levies. In fact, if I'm not mistaken, there were 60 different levies that have been all crouched into one tax system with no consideration to the different little details that make it difficult for the average Nigerian to be able to pay these taxes or even make an income. It's a grim representation of what we're heading towards come 2026. And we just read the headlines this morning. No going back on that now, isn't there? Is there? Judith, what do you think? Are you prepared for 2026? Do you have tin?
I mean, I don't know if I'm prepared for.
We all aren't.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm prepared because at this point it feels like there's just so much I can take, in terms of like the bills, right, and the hits, right. But I will say this. I pay tax in Lagos State. I don't enjoy anything in Lagos State. I don't enjoy clean water. I don't enjoy primary health care. I don't enjoy good roads. Even street lights is bit a big. You get, I mean, I don't enjoy anything. For a country, so that's just Lagos State, a well-oiled machine that taxes you for consumption fee, all this other small tax. You walk into a supermarket or you're at a restaurant, and even there are some areas that they pay for radio and television fee, So all of this taxes.
I was asked for my radio license during the year while I was driving. I'm like,
exactly. So you're getting all of this money, but like the Ikorodu Road is a conversation for another day. Even in the pockets, even where the seat of power, where your major ministries, right, which is Ikeja, which is the capital,
CBD,
the road network it's insane. It's shameful. And so if you now widen that net to the entirety of Nigeria, it's like, okay, you're taking all this tax, but your social programs are not there. Your citizens are not enjoying. So what is the compelling thing? Okay, we've agreed you want to do. Okay, what's a compelling thing that will say, as you're doing this, these are the benefits that you're getting? Because clearly this is here to stay. We have pushed back. The media has pushed back. Pressure groups have pushed back. Lobby groups have tried to lobby against it. Opposition have talked, but they still want to come and make it say now. There's now a countdown. January 1st, it is just, what are you doing for us in return for asking for our blood and our kidneys?
Blood indeed, that's what it is, because we're out of money at this point. So blood is next to start collecting. If you don't have tax money, just come and donate blood. But I'll tell you something, with everything that has gone on when it comes to the tax reforms, there's just one small inconsideration by the authorities, and that's inflation. Nobody's factoring that in. How much things have gone up, 30% as we speak, and yet these tax reforms are going to stay as they are with the digits that they are going to be asking back from us. It might go up, it might continue to go up, but it will remain the same. Our purchasing power is shrinking, but we'll continue to pay taxes anyway. Whatever you're buying today at this price is going to increase, your tax is still going to collect your money. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm being chased out of here because I think we are out of time. But thank you very much for joining us for the strips. I hope you enjoyed it. We love to do this every single weekend. Take strips from last week and make sure that we try to analyze them. Today's ones, not so funny because of the reality that they each depict. And it's grim for us come 2026, but at least it's Christmas time. It's still the new year ahead. Let's enjoy it for now. Doesn't mean you should forget about accountability, Sha. But don't you worry. As every Nigerian will say, God day. And you are welcome. It's our first big story, although it might take the liking of sports. But hey, let's talk about it. The 2025 Africa Cup of Nations is fast approaching, and the Super Eagles are once again under the national microscope. For Nigerians, football is more than a game. It is a source of pride. It is a unifier and sometimes a pressure cooker of expectations, also a religion. The Eagles carry not just the hopes of a nation, but the scrutiny that comes with every tournament, every coach decision, and every player on the pitch. As the team prepares for the continent's biggest stage, questions about strategy, readiness, and mental toughness dominate conversations across the country. The stakes are high. Past tournaments have taught us that talent alone does not win cups, so cohesion, discipline, and the ability to handle the weight of expectations are just as critical. And fans, pundits, and also officials are watching closely, wondering whether this squad has the balance of youth, experience, and resilience to go all the way. Every draw, every friendly, and every training session now carries symbolic weight. And the media's role in shaping public perception has never been more important.
And so to help us unpack this, we're joined by Babatunde Koiki. He's the head of the sports desk here at News Central Television. Babatunde, he's been following the Eagles campaign for years, and just this last year as well, rather this year, just going on to qualifying for AFCON. And so he does have a deep understanding of what the nation's mood is like. Babatunde, thank you so much for coming on. First of all, we've gotten a new captain.
Yes, we do.
But,
Yes, we do.
What's how pronounced?
But would there be disappointment?
Well, it depends on what you regard as disappointment.
Yeah, because look at the match that they just played with these guys. One has
Egypt,
to ask
yeah.
Egypt. One has to ask whether it was a video game.
Okay.
Was that what Unduka said?
Be nice.
Unduka said. I don't have to tune in on myself. Like, wait a minute. This is really bad.
No. To be honest, it's the thing about friendly matches is that the result really doesn't hold any significance. To be honest.
Yeah, well, seeing the form that they had.
Yeah, well,
before going into the friendly match.
Well, like I said, let me just finish.
Sorry,
I know, I get this, but
I sheathed my sword.
Okay, so for any good coach uses a friendly match to look at tactics, adaptability, probably maybe even form. There's so many things you can unpack from a friendly match. The result is really the most secondary thing.
Okay, what did you unpack?
Well, I just saw that there were a few new debutants, a few new players who we'd never seen before.
Right.
Because this coach had called up 5 players who had never played for the Nigerian national team,
right,
which has never been done in the history of this country. Going into a competition with 5 players who have never had national team experience. Now, that is risky in terms of the fact that not every player can play at that international level.
Right.
Some players are good as squad players, as club players, but living in national team football, it's a rarefied atmosphere. Not every animal is built to live there. So it's a risk, a calculated one, but let's hope that they can step into the spotlight.
From your vantage point, 5 new debutants on the group.
Yeah.
Watching them play against Egypt, knowing what's at stake, giving their outing from as far as 2023, 2024, thereabout.
Yeah.
Do you see them meeting that bar that they set for themselves?
So the Nigerian Super Eagles have an interesting history with the Africa Cup of Nations. They have played more semi-finals than any other country. By that alone, by the law of averages, they should have won this Africa Cup of Nations at least if give or take, maybe 5 more times than they already have.
So their village people have been chasing them?
Something like that. But you get the impression that this Nigerian national team is also a Jekyll and Hyde team. You never know which one is going to turn up. At the last Africa Cup of Nations, nobody believed that they were going to get as far as the semi-final, and they were just probably 45 minutes away from winning it. So you never really know which Nigerian national team is going to turn up. They are probably the most unpredictable team on the African continent. The day you expect them to be rolled over, that's the day they give up a 5-star performance. The day you expect them to thrash someone, that's when they are bent over and
classic case of Nigerian
men. Exactly.
Just classic case of men.
Oh, stop it.
She went there. Koiki, let's handle this by ourselves.
Okay.
In any case, if we've made it to the semi-final so many times that it seems that we should have at least taken it more than just what we've gotten.
Yeah.
What is responsible at that critical moment? Is it preparedness? Is it tactics? Is it strategy? Is it the coach? Is it the absence of certain players? What have you identified as our major flaw?
It's a combination of many things. It's a combination of many things. We've played 3 finals which we lost to Cameroon alone. Cameroon alone has attributed to 3 losses in the final. That was in 1988. Then there was also 1984, and also in Lagos in 2000. Now, this in Cameroon national team used to have like the Indian sign over Nigeria. Every time we heard them coming, the indomitable lions of Cameroon. I mean, this mighty, fearless, powerful team. They don't have any lions. Gorillas they do, but they don't have lions.
Because, there's a sighting of lions there.
Exactly. So, but it's a team with an almost mythical aura. So even before you stepped on the pitch, you were like quivering and quaking. But thankfully, over the last few years, we seem to have thrown that off, that hoodoo. So we can't live with the likes of Cameroon now. There have also been players who failed to turn up on match day. Expectations were so high. You expected them to give a 5-star performance. They didn't as well. also look at tactics. At the last Africa Cup of Nations, where we got to the final, the coach had pretty much driven the team into the ground. He used the core of, let's say, probably 15 players out of a squad of 23. So by the time they got to the final, they were completely knackered. They played probably a good 30 minutes, but the rest don't look at me like that. I don't know where you're going with that. But they were completely knackered after 30 minutes. The remainder of the match, they were completely done. And it also brings into question, don't get me wrong, the staying power of the Nigerian national team.
I'm a joke, I can't say
no,
that.
please don't.
I'm so sorry.
The staying power of the Nigerian national team at critical moments. Do they have what it takes to maintain a strong performance even in the final? So that's always been an issue.
So the critical question here is, with the players that we have on board now that have that have resumed, what should we be looking out individually from each of them, and do they have any critical stake in the outcome? Do you think that this team can do anything? Forget the 5 players we don't know from whence they came.
Okay.
The critical ones, who are they? What are we expecting from them? What are their positions?
Right. One thing I didn't also mention, the fact is that while we do have 5 debutants who have never played for the Super Eagles before, we also have in totality 10 players who have never played at the Africa Cup of Nations before.
Never played at the Africa Cup of Nations,
Yes.
so we're doomed.
No, sometimes new fresh blood can be a good thing.
Thank you.
Because they have energy.
Thank you.
So what about
you.
the ones that are experienced?
Right. The ones I
Let's
experienced
start from there, then we'll come to these 10 new guys.
from like the captain, Wilfred Ndidi, he's been around for quite a while, since 2015. He's been to 2 Africa Cup of Nations. He missed out on the last one because of injuries. 71 caps for Nigeria. He's been to an Olympic Games as well. He's been to a FIFA World Cup. So he's a player who's been there, done that at the highest level. Victor Osimhen, of course, star boy of the Nigerian national team. The weight of the team basically rests on his boots, basically, because he had the last AFCON, he was a bit tepid. Probably scored only 1 goal for a marksman of repute. You get the impression that he wants to do much better. He's also former African Footballer of the Year, so he has quite a lot to prove as well. Yeah, so there are a few other experienced players, Alex Iwobi as well, who's also been a very, very good servant of Nigerian national football. So you get the impression that these players, they would really love to win an Africa Cup of Nations. Another incentive for these players to go as far as they can is the fact that CAF has increased the prize money from 7 million last time around to $10 million. Now, what a lot of people don't know is that the prize monies that the Nigerian national teams get from competitions, they are entitled to 1/3 of it. The players are entitled to 1/3 of that.
Okay.
When you remember that at the 2000 Africa Cup of Nations, the prize money for the winner was $500,000 to $10 million now.
That's a lot.
That's a huge. That in 25 years, it's moved a lot because CAF has been revenues have gone through the roof over the last few years.
There's joined as well.
Everybody.
Everyone's
their revenue projection for this Africa Cup of Nations alone is $192 million.
Insane.
Their profit is like $113 million. We're profit after everything's been said and done.
So that's sports psychology. You're baiting them to, hey, you guys better win to get this money.
Exactly.
That's on one side.
Exactly.
Let's go back to the hope that you were giving us with these critical names, these names that are founded.
Yeah.
So at least there's a bit of hope there that these guys are experienced. These guys can actually bring in the passion from these new players. Let's talk about these 10 new players that haven't been, the 10 players that have never been to AFCON.
Okay.
Who are they? What are the chances?
Well, I think there's a slide. You can put them up on the screen so they can see those, the 10 new players that we've never had before. The 5 that are making their debut for the national team, they're included. There are also those who have never been to the African Cup of Nations, like I mentioned, the likes of Ako Adams, who plays for Sevilla. There's also Cyril Dessers, who also plays, I think he's in Greece now, and a few other players as well. The good thing about these players is that, just like Judy said, they bring in fresh blood. They bring in new insights. They bring in new energy. The fact that they also are an unknown quantity for other teams also makes them an X factor. They also bring in hunger because they've never been
you
at
gotta
this.
be hungry.
Yeah,
they want to be immortalized like Alex Iwobi.
There you go.
Tanana is a goal. Is a goal. It's a goal. It's a goal.
So you get that. These are players who've never played at this level.
We've got that up now.
That is the squad of the Nigerian national team,
and
right?
they have this, and some would argue that they do have staying power, right? But let's look at the group that Nigeria is in. There's Tanzania on there.
There's Uganda.
There's Uganda on there as well.
And there's Tunisia.
Right? Tanzania.
Yeah, we can take them over with this stick.
Hey, you people.
That's what I'm saying. But again, there's the X factor. You never know. So I do have to ask you, what are our chances in this group? Talk to me in terms of odds and pros and cons and peculiarity and possibilities. What are we looking at in this group?
Okay, so if you look at two teams in this group, they're from East Africa. That's Tanzania and Uganda. And both of them are the co-hosts of the next Africa Cup of Nations. So they're pretty much building for the next tournament, wanting to have a good tournament this time around so they can have a solid showing when they do host Africa in another 2 years' time. Okay. But you also look at Tunisia, who are former African champions, one of the biggest teams on the African continent. They've qualified for the FIFA World Cup as well. So you look at it, it's a mixed group in terms of the quality of the teams and Nigeria's capabilities. And I did mention the fact that Nigeria is a Jekyll and Hyde team. Ordinarily, you think that Nigeria will probably give, to Tanzania and Uganda a thrashing. Yeah, but recently we struggled against so-called lesser teams. Yeah. At the FIFA World Cup qualifiers, we struggled against Benin Republic, we struggled against Lesotho, we struggled against Tanzania. I mean, this Nigerian national team...
Using the friendly, we've just struggled.
You can't really take anything away from a friendly.
But at least tactically,
what
do you see when you use that performance against these lesser teams, as a metric, exactly?
Okay, so there is a problem for this, every country going to this Africa Cup of Nations.
I got you.
Ordinarily, every team is entitled to 14 days with their players. Every player should be released 14 days before the start of the tournament. But CAF, in their wisdom, and after getting to bed with FIFA, they've now been making some adjustments to African football that completely confounds everyone. They only release players 7 days to the start of the tournament, which pretty much shortens preparation time, team bonding, building team chemistry. So basically, a lot of these teams are going into this competition pretty much hampered in terms of preparation. But thankfully, the Super Eagles of Nigeria were pretty much in action just a few days ago in the FIFA World Cup qualifying playoffs, where they played Gabon and lost to the DR Congo. So there's still some recency. So they're not doing too bad in terms of preparation. But the question is,
too badly. What you want to be saying in terms of a qualifying adjective is greatly in terms of preparation, not too badly.
Like I said, every single team was hampered because they had only 7 days with their players.
Nigeria is fond of using their star players and over depending on them.
I think that's pretty much the same for every country.
They're
big players for a reason.
But Victor Osimhen,
the boy who will be king.
Who could have been king?
Who could be king? Because I mean, he's an absolute phenomenon. He's one of the best strikers I've ever seen.
Yeah, I have a feeling he has a strain of neurodivergence.
Oh my goodness,
Oh, here we go.
Yeah.
She's doing that psychology thing.
Sorry,
poor guys out there trying to make a living. He's neurodivergent.
No, because they have for you to be great at something, it's something that you have to be obsessive about, and the way where he's focused whenever he's playing, the mental agility of it, besides the single-mindedness, that thing, you don't get it every single time. That's what I'm saying.
If we had like 4 or 5 players with his mentality in the Nigerian national team, I promise you we'll be world beaters. His single-mindedness, his hunger, his drive. I think the Spanish have a word for it, passion. The sheer, he's like a raging fire. Yeah. And because of the kind of player he is, he's gone through tremendous hardships as a young man. Yeah. And to get to where he is now, where he's basically deified by an entire country in Turkey, and also being regarded as one of the biggest exports out of Nigerian football, he carries the weight of, there's a personal weight on his back and a national weight.
Let's talk about that weight, the individual weight on these players. However, if we bring it back home, how prepared are they to carry this weight? How prepared is Nigeria? The backing of the authorities is what I'm talking about before going out there for this tournament. Are we ready? Were they prepared? Were they just coming into town one by one, meeting themselves for the first time? So for me, that gives me an idea of the level of preparedness. But you're the expert.
Well, it's interesting you should mention the authorities because they haven't exactly put their best foot forward. Just a few days ago, we were told that they're owing the coach 3 months' salary. Now, the coach didn't say anything.
We have started again. We never stop.
No, we never stop. Considering the fact that also...
Ghana Rock, same thing. Before him, same thing. Stevie Keshi, same thing. Kilo De, may so rest in peace, Keshi. Same thing. What's going on?
there's only one word. Well, it's two words basically, but it's basically a phrase. You can say administrative ineptitude or administrative incompetence. Either way.
Not corruption?
I wouldn't say corruption. It's just that the honest truth is that these people are not. They do not understand what it is to administer football in the 21st century. That is the honest truth. The kind of decisions that they make continue to confound. The kind of postulations. I mean, for example, now, and I keep using this everywhere. At the National Stadium, beside the Nigeria Football Federation headquarters, they are building a football hostel for the players. Please, a hostel to keep national team players of the likes of Iwobi and Osimhen, who are used to 5-star accommodation.
Well, no.
And you also understand the fact that Nigeria is not exactly the very best in terms of maintenance culture. They are modeling this after a facility that actually the Moroccans have, I think is the King Mohammed VI Center, that is world class, fantastic structure. But you must also remember that Morocco is a top 5 African destination.
I've seen it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It's a top 5 African tourist destination. They know how to do these kind of things. I would have thought that the Nigerian Football Federation would have meant the federal government, please give us land in Maitama and Sokoro. Then they go and meet the international hotel chain, Marriott, Golden Tulip. This is our equity contribution and this amount of money. Build a 5-star hotel. Just every six weeks in a year, give us one entire floor so we can house the Nigerian national team and pay us $1 million every year.
That in itself is preparation.
That is preparation, because these people don't know how to generate money apart from handouts. The English FA alone, they own Wembley Stadium. Wembley Stadium generates between $300 million and $250 million annually from stuff like NFL games, Taylor Swift concerts.
Yeah.
There's so much that they generate. But these people, unless they get money from the government, which they never really account for, they're not ready to spend on Nigerian football.
You said the word merchandising. Let's talk about merchandising. Let's talk about how prepared they are when it comes to what they look like out this.
Can I just say?
Please go ahead. It's your turn.
Listen, I just saw the homies. I don't know. I've forgotten. It's a C. I've forgotten the country, but I know it's a C. I saw.
Comoros?
No, they're dark-skinned. You know what I mean? Like
Comoros.
6 feet tall. Cote d'Ivoire.
Cote d'Ivoire. No.
Oh, the garb.
They are the defending champions of the African Cup of Nations.
Oh, and they came as champions.
Yeah.
When I saw, I said, yeah, that's right. I love that. Nigeria should not fail me. Don't disgrace
But
me.
didn't you like the green kaftan that they came out with? Yeah, nice, colorful.
Let this be last time.
Sorry.
Compared to Cote d'Ivoire.
No, I think another angle that we've not talked about is the fact that a lot of African countries are making major statements in terms of their cultural display, showing the world exactly their cultural identity. All the African nations pretty much showed up in their native garb. I think it was only Zimbabwe that came in blazers, which I thought was a bit weird. But it shows, I mean, look at Italy now. I think the Italian national team are kitted by either Dolce & Gabbana or Gucci. You must have something. Imagine if you had a competition for the very best Nigerian designers here. Jola Sego, Maya Tafo. I mean, exactly. I mean, each one should probably have like a kitting or maybe like a competition to find out who's going to be kitting the Nigerian national team to the next competition. It could also be a major statement point.
Yeah.
We've already exported our music all over the world. Why not our fashion? And look at, I mean, that's the Nigerian national team. It's not looking too bad. Look at good-looking men.
I need you to pull up Cote d'Ivoire. Pull up Cote d'Ivoire. I need you.
I think
listen, the guard. Oh my God! I need you to pull. If you can find Cote d'Ivoire, please pull up Cote d'Ivoire.
But I'm liking the fact that
look at them.
Yeah. I mean, they look resplendent. To be honest, they look resplendent, and I'm liking this. I'm liking this because back in the day, they probably show. Which anthem is that?
No, because I know when they go through the tunnel.
Oh yeah, they have a new one now. It's called Niger for the win. Consider the fact that Nigeria has won 3 Africa Cup of Nations. They're going for a 4th. So it's Niger for the win. So
I thought it was going to be Obele.
Because it's December, right? Yeah, I get that because this is the first ever Africa Cup of Nations held in December, January.
Yeah.
So which makes it completely unique. It's also held in a country which is basically an hour 45 minutes from major European capitals. So you can expect a huge influx of Europeans who are coming to party. It's going to be the best Africa Cup of Nations ever.
Excited.
I can guarantee you that. The people there are excited. European fans are excited. There's also a huge North African diaspora population in Europe. So it's going to be packed.
I'm looking forward to it. Hey, Babatunde, it was fun doing this. Always fun. We're going to be China Wale is a go. So the second hour is a go. Let's prepare to win. Super Eagles, please don't fail me. Martin Kweki is the head of our sport desk here at News Central. We'll be talking about AFCON and what to expect from our Super Eagles and all that's in store. Let's go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue, and this time with our big story for the second hour. Stay with us. Welcome back. Let's start the hour with security matters. Bello Turji, the notorious bandit leader, has confirmed that he engaged in peace talks with the Zamfara state government during former Governor Bello Matawale's tenure. Now, he denies ever receiving 30 million naira or any other payout, insisting that the talks was aimed solely at peace. The conflicting claims have reignited debates about how the state negotiates with armed groups and the accountability of officials involved. The issue touches every Nigerian. The Northwest continues to suffer kidnappings and killings, forcing policymakers to balance dialogue with force. Allegations of political involvement risk undermining public trust and complicating efforts to build a coherent national security strategy. And so to help us unpack these issues, we're joined by Dr. Bashir Kofi. He's a political analyst. Also joining us later on the program will be Yahazu Gatu, who's a security intelligence and investigation expert. Both will be giving us insight and exploring what these claims and denials will mean for Nigeria's approach to insecurity. First of all, Dr. Bashir Kofi, I want to say thank you so much for joining us, sir, and a very good morning to you.
Much.
Good morning. Let me start with the admissions of Turji and denial of revealing, and the denial and what it reveals about, the political narrative around peace talks, especially in insecurity-prone areas like Zamfara State.
Well, you see, the question of the political actors talking to bandits is not anything in dispute. Quite almost of political actors, in fact, some of them created those kind of bandits operating in various parts, particularly in the northern states. If you look at the historical antecedent of what have happened in Maiduguri, in northeast and now northwest and some part of north central. So for Turji, who is a political, bandit, saying that he deals with ABCD, I don't think that is much news to many of us who follow trends in this criminal activities going on in our part of the country.
Right. And so how might these claims affect public trust in government as regards anti-banditry efforts that this government and state governments are, trying to impose?
Well, you see, in the case of public trust of this politician, I don't think it's in any way close to they care about their own people. What is happening now in most part of the Northwest, the government is negotiating with these bandits. I am from Katsina State, and I know in Katsina, the government was involved in the negotiation with the bandits. But what is very funny and very ridiculous of what is going on in these negotiations, while you come armless, the bandits will determine where you should come for the meeting with them. They determine how much money they should be given before they come for the meeting. They will come with their arms, and they dictate the tone of what should be done. So what is happening in effect now, you open more porous way for these people to gather more arms and also to service their terrorism machinery. And this is exactly what is going on now.
Can there be peace, or what then would be a solution in terms of anti-banditry, right? Because if negotiations are happening between government and criminals, one has to ask the question about what truly is the real solutions and why are they not transparent? Whose responsibility is it, when it comes to issues like this, whether state or federal, to ensure transparency when it comes to peace talks?
Well, you see, what we found of recent Look, you have the current Minister of Defense. He made a public statement when he was even Joint Chief of Staff and currently also when he's appointed as a minister. He clearly said that there will be no way government will negotiate with bandits. But at the same time, state governments are taking their own personal initiative, negotiating with these bandits at a very irresponsible way. So you see, there is a very serious problem in this because we know the defense issue is a federal government responsibility, but in collaboration with the states who are on the ground. But I think in this kind of case, Nigerians have to take it as their entire problem. Now, if you look at the budget of this year, the chunk of the amount of money to be spent in the federal budget is on defense and security. So a Nigerian who is from Enugu or who is from Ibadan and all this, he should be concerned, because if there is no this irresponsible political management in the northwest and northeast and north central, there wouldn't have been this unnecessary expenditure. This amount of money, which ordinarily should be spread across Nigeria for their own development, now is taken to one section of the country in the name of defense, of which a lot of corruption even is involved in that. So I think it's a very serious thing, as everybody will say that security is the business of everybody. Right. And that's a true fact. And also people will question, with this era of technology, of which you can be able to monitor each and everything that is going on in your country, what is going on? And also why everybody seems in the country is on his own. You see governors, one of the governors of recent in the Northwest, he went to Belarus and he was discussing with the Belarus government of cooperation between them and his state of it. And we also know some activities. They even send people to Israel. These are issues which you cannot do it without the clearance of federal government. So I think it's something which we have to look very critically and see what we could do for the interest of our country. Because even now when the US is saying that they put a restriction on visa and all this kind of stuff, look, the simple thing which the United States is saying, your people are being killed, your people are being maimed, they have been raped, and you seem to be doing nothing. So you see, so this is a very big problem in any international relations with any other country, because they know there is something that you can do and you didn't do. And I think that's the bottom line of the discussion. All
right. Now we have our second guest now, who's Gatsu. He's a security analyst as well, security intelligence and investigation expert, who joins me live now. Mr. Gatsu, it's good to have you join us. First, let me just get your reaction, given the government's denial of peace talks and claims of payoffs by Turji.
Thank you for having me. I think we need to digest the reality that there is no governor in Nigeria in the areas where we are having this crisis that have not had an access or one meeting or another with some of the representatives of these guys that are operating in these locations. It is very clear that even in the statement credited to Bello Turji in the voice, in the video I just saw you playing, you just played, you have, he has made mention very clear that they have had meetings with the former governor of Zamfara State, the Malam Bello Mutawalli, now the State Minister of Defense. And at the same time, even the present governor of Zamfara State, Malam Dauda Lawal Deri, there were pledges and a kind of consultations between his government and the bandits. Even though he stood a position that he was not ready to have any discussion as far as dialogue is concerned, his only way of dialogue is for them to submit their arms first and stop committing the atrocities. But subsequent governments in Sokoto, in Kebbi, in Niger, in Kaduna, in Katsina, have had such engagements. It doesn't mean that those engagements that they have had, there were exchange of money. Nobody can certify that. But the question is, who are these guys? Are they foreigners or are they Nigerians? Where are they operating? Which space are they using to operate? Are they operating in the Nigerian space or are they operating in other space? The answer is there are 99.9% of them are Nigerians and they are operating in Nigeria. Likewise, 99.9% of them, they are operating in Nigerian space for what we call ungoverned spaces or hard to reach or difficult terrain, which I quite disagree. None of these places where these guys are living is hard to reach or difficult terrain, because we have other people, we have other members of the community, we have other citizens of Nigeria that they have been disturbing over time. So it is either our negligence or inability to deal with the situation decisively, because it has become a money-making venture. That is why we are promoting it every now and then it is creating an enabling environment for them collecting the money for the people they have kidnapped in order to use that money to possess additional arms.
Right.
Thousands and millions. Go back to the data from the Bureau of National Statistics. They have made mention over 1 trillion was given to them in the year 2003 and the same in the year 2004.
All right.
So what's a country we have? What a leader? Do we really have leaders? Are we sincere? Are we honest? When are we really coming to end this banditry? We keep saying that Turji and others are on the wanted list, which I disagree.
Yeah, Mr. Gatsu, we want to quickly go on a short break. When we come back, we'll continue this discussion, right, about the effectiveness of peace talks and whether or not there can be an enforced and effective disarmament when it comes to this bandits and criminals. And at this point, the president has now also declared that bandits are terrorists, and it makes you wonder what then will be the strategy in dealing with those criminals moving forward. But first, let's go on the short break. After the break, there's plenty. Stay with us. You're watching Breakfast Extra here on News Central Television. Let's switch gears now from Johannesburg back here to Nigeria. Still on security, but this time on insecurity, about allegations of payments or settlements of about 30 million naira or payoffs. Now, the governor of Zamfara, former governor of Zamfara, former governor Bello Matawale has denied these allegations, but notorious bandit leader Bello Turji said he had peace talks with the former governor and received 30 million naira as payoff. Now, we've been talking about this. My guest today first is Dr. Bashir Kofi, who is a political analyst, and also Yahuza Getso, who is a security intelligence and investigation expert. Now, both gentlemen have been talking to me about pretty much his allegations and what he means when it comes to peace talks and dealing with bandits and dialogue, and whether a transparency in the process of peace talk with dialogue, right? And before the break, Mr. Gasso, you were talking to me about a total disarmament of bandits and whether or not that can be possible, right? But now there's that tag of bandits or armed headsmen or kidnappers have now all been labeled as terrorists by the president. And so moving forward, what would a total disarmament look like? And how best can we ensure transparency? If there were to be a peace talks, should we be having peace talks, whether at state level or at federal level, when it comes to bandits and terrorists?
There will be a peace talk, but only on several conditions. One of the conditions is for all the bandits to put themselves together, because they know one another, they know the locations of one another, they communicate among themselves, and they also communicate among the informers and the unscrupulous element within the security strata and the traditional institutions, as well as the religious clerics. So they must, first of all, hand over their arms. They must be ready to load their arms. That is one. Secondly, they must provide information on how they are providing, about their logistics supply, who is supplying what, when, how. So federal government have to take over the supply of the arms and other things. And I think I need to make it very clear here. From the video, Bello Turji did not affirm that he has collected 30 million. In fact, he denied collecting any money, including the feeding for the animal feeding that was claimed by Musa Kamarawa that was given out to give it to them. He said he bought it 600,000 from Musa Kamarawa. So I think we need to be very, very careful on how we translate information. We need to get reliable people to translate and transcribe the information if we cannot understand the language. There wasn't any confirmation or affirmative statement from Bello Turji that he collected the money, but rather Musa Kamarawa, who was the negotiator between the Bello Turji and government of Zamfara State under the leadership of the former governor, now the state minister, he made it very clear that Musa Kamarawa mentioned that he has given 30 million, which Bello Turji denied that he was not given anything. Even the animal feed, that is called Dusa, he bought it from Musa Kamarawa at the rate of 600,000 naira. So the peace talk can continue, yes, of course, because there has been war and violence everywhere in the world. And there are peace talk, and that is what is needed because nobody wants blood to continue to be shed. Everybody needs a peace process, but not on the conditions that we are conducting the peace talk. We have to be realistic. We have to be honest. We have to identify the unscrupulous element. We have to identify the supply chain so that we can break into it. Federal government need to take ownership and the total ownership, and they must submit on no condition. They must not give government any condition. If there may be any condition, probably if it means provision of some essential, some social services like provision of schools and so on and so forth, and probably maybe rehabilitation and the like. But not really in a situation whereby you will see a bandit decorated himself with all the arms and whatever in the presence of military, in the presence of police, in the presence of local government chairman, in some cases, some of the representatives of the commissioners, of the governors and so on, and given conditions that this must be done for us to do this and that. And I said, and I'm still repeating myself, these guys are known, these guys, their locations are known, they are citizens of Nigeria, they are citizens of most of the locations where they are operating within the radius of 70 to 100 kilometers. So it is not difficult. It is only that Nigeria refused to deal with them decisively. But I am convinced and becoming more confident that with the emergence of the new Minister of Defense, that is General Christopher Musa, and some of the commitments he has been making, and some of taking the position and disposition that no dialogue and nothing like dialogue, and those who are found to be participating in any dialogue process or whatever will be considered as bandits. I quite commend the minister, and I hope Nigerians will also, every Nigerian will believe that I am also General Christopher Musa, I am also President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, I am also the divisional police officer, I am also the director SSS, because the issue of security is everybody's business. So we must all be ready to support and to provide necessary essentials that is needed. And anybody who is found wanting must be dealt with without any fear or favor. There are a lot of commitment in terms of policy, in terms of declaration of state of emergency, in terms of emergence of the new minister, in terms of position of the minister, in terms of position of the repositioning, the strategic way of doing things, in terms of purchase of armaments and other requirements that is needed for fighting this insurgency. So if at all, all of us Nigerians are serious and we want to be committed, and we are really tired of these things, those among the politicians, among the traditional and religious leaders, among the philanthropists and other business owners, because I have made mention very clear several times that I know and I have evidence on who are supplying them with the fuel. And I know they are cut across in all the state of Sokoto, Kebbi, Katsina, Niger. The fueling stations are there, and they are providing this fuel on a very high price through using their form in their fueling stations. And I have presented this information before the highest level of authority as far as intelligence and security is concerned in Nigeria.
Right.
I don't really know. That's my responsibility.
Mr.
I don't have the
Getso.
authority.
Yeah, Mr. Getso, there's no, I hate to cut you, but let me just quickly bring in Dr. Bashir so that we can wrap up this discussion, right? Your final remarks in terms of the way forward when it comes to peace talks. Should politicians be at the helm of affairs when it comes to peace talks? Should there not be somewhat of an agency that could be attached to the security personnel and agencies that can be like an arm to facilitate these dialogues?
Practice in peace talks. You remember the last one was the one in South Africa, led by Desmond Tutu. So it's not necessarily that it have to be headed by the intelligence services or whatever, but there have to be key players in those kind of discussion. And you see, the purpose of a peace talk is not just to come and have a discussion, but those people who are involved in some of the atrocities, they have to believe in their mind that they regret of what they have done. And they will come out to the public and say, I have killed it, so. I have raped so, and all this, I'm asking for forgiveness. And in doing that, you don't come with your arms. You don't, you as government, like what these state governments are doing. We who are from that area, I live in the village, I do stay in the village when I'm around my state, and there are many women who came to me and told me how they were raped by the bandit, how they were killed. You have people who are living in our communities, who paid ransom. Today they are penniless, and then there are also people who, by virtue of what have happened, now based on that problem that you are having of the banditry, I can tell you authoritatively that in my own state like Katsina, and I know like in Sokoto, I know like also in Zamfara, more than 60 to 70% of our kids are not going to the schools because the schools have been closed by the bandit. So in doing this, I see it as a responsibility of each and every one of us to come out clearly to see how we can key in stopping this kind of atrocity. Now, it is excellent, Mr. President had declared a state of emergency in security. But if President make such kind of statement, now is the responsibility of every citizen to key in where he thinks he can be relevant in stopping these atrocities. So if today you are Federal Minister of Health, you should think of how do I secure my hospital based on the statement, emergency statement of Mr. President. That's why I think what like the initiative TED Fund is taking now, saying that, okay, we make a lot of intervention in terms of investment in various tertiary institutions. And we know some of the investment we have done in these schools or this institution. Some of these places, you make the investment, but nobody can utilize them because of the banditry. Therefore, they decided to come. To what they call, let's create a campus security master plan to address all of this problem that is happening in our various institutions. And that's, I saw of recent, they have this discussion with the chief executives of the tertiary institution, their chief security officer, their dean of students. And I think this is one of the right way to go. But then having said that, in the appointments of either ministers of defense or minister or whatever, there must be a comprehensive rundown of each individual who we are going to appoint in various positions for the development of our country.
All right.
I cannot understand, for whatever reason, to say that a country like Nigeria with 200 million people, you have Matawale and Badaru as ministers of defense.
Gentlemen, we have to go. We're pressed for time. Unfortunately, we do have to go. I want to say thank you to both of you for taking out the time to join us this morning and just giving us your insight. Dr. Bashir Kofri, he's a political analyst, as well as Yahuza Gasu, who's a security intelligence and investigation expert. Once again, gentlemen, thank you. We'll go on a short break, shall we? When we come back, there's more. Stay with us. Hey, welcome back. Now we switch gears back to Johannesburg, where we know that there was a shooting just outside of a tavern in a township that have now killed 10 persons and left 10 persons and 10 others injured. Now we know that the unknown gunmen were shooting sporadically in the streets, targeting people at random. Now joining us is our correspondent Bongani Zaziba, who is live at the scene of the crime to give us updates and insight as to what happened. Bongani, a very good morning to you. Talk to us. What do we know so far about this shooting?
Good morning to you, and also good morning to our viewers. We are at an active scene here where 9 people were allegedly gunned down around 1 a.m. And with me is the Deputy Commissioner for Gauteng, that is Fred Kekane. Just to take us through what happened here. We heard him earlier on, but our sound was not good. Let me just try if I can get him just quickly, just to speak to us, to take us through what really happened here. I can see he's still busy, but we understand that 9 people were gunned down at this place. And this is not the first incident that we have seen people being gunned down in Gauteng, highlighting the issue of crime and gun violence in South Africa, how rife it is. But the Commissioner is now here and can take us through. Deputy Commissioner, can you take us through quickly what happened here?
I did, but I'll repeat once again. At about 1 o'clock this morning, a white Quantum and a silver Toyota Etios came to this tavern just behind us. They were plus minus 10 males who alighted and went into the tavern, and randomly, unprovoked, started shooting at the patrons there. And 3 people were fatally wounded, 10 were seriously injured, right in the tavern. Some of the people who were in the tavern, 2 of them tried to run into the black golf that was here. They shot at them. They also passed on. The same criminals went back to those people who were injured, and some of them passed on. They robbed them of their valuables, including cell phones. And when they arrived, some of those criminals had balaclavas or masks on so that they are not identifiable. And from there, some group of people who were in the tavern tried to run away, who were shot. They went to the clinic. Unfortunately, 3 of those succumbed to their injuries and lost their lives. And the same thugs proceeded to the street just not far from where the clinic is. They shot a driver of a Bolt vehicle and injured him. It's unfortunate what happened, and it's something which is worrisome. We don't know the motive for the incident and the killing, but our communities can assist us in identifying these 2 vehicles. One might have seen these vehicles coming in or out of a certain property or house, or they might know the number plates of those vehicles, or they might have seen one of the occupants. Let them share that information with us, because out of that we will be able to get that person, and that person will tell us, we'll talk to that person nicely, so that that person share with us with whom he was and where are the firearms, so that they can be taken in, they face justice in all what they've done. Our community, we know we have a law-abiding community and peace-loving community that doesn't like crime or criminality. The community we appeal to them to come forth, share that information anonymously, 08600 10111, or through WhatsApp line 32211, or approach the commanders of any local police station or any officer you feel comfortable with, to share that sensitive information. And out of that, we'll be able to follow up, analyze, and deal with that information. And if it's information that will assist in combating crime and resolving this matter, including identifying the suspect, that's what we'll appreciate.
Deputy Commissioner, just quickly, how rife is the gun violence in South Africa, looking at the incidents that we have seen in the previous weeks and this one?
Yeah, we have a challenge with unlicensed firearms. we have a challenge with licensed firearms, because gun violence is both. People who are given licenses who misbehave, who mishandle firearms, that's a challenge. However, one of the targets with this festive season operation in the province, in the county, is to remove unlicensed firearms on the road, and also deal with those who have firearms licenses but are found mishandling them, are found being influenced of liquor while in possession of their firearm. That's what we are busy with, and that's what we are going to deal with. And across the board, we have been dealing with it, because just this week, only in Gauteng, we recovered more than 12 unlicensed firearms and ammunition, excluding those which we took from those who are in possession of them, but were found under the influence of liquor.
Of course, that was the Gauteng Deputy Commissioner there, Fred Kekane, just checking us through what happened here. But if I can move out of the camera to allow my camera person, Sibonelo Mkhasibe, to show you it's an active scene. As we can see, the forensic pathology are here just to take those bodies to the mortuaries. And also we have police in their numbers here, just trying to investigate, speak to the community to understand what exactly happened. Like I indicated earlier, that this highlights the high crime rate in South Africa, and also the gun violence in South Africa. Every day South Africans are waking up to the news of one dead body, a person being gunned down, and those that are not on the media. So this shows that the high crime and high rate of gun violence in South Africa has become rife even during this festive season. But we continue to monitor this scene here just to understand what happened, and we'll come back to give our viewers the update. It's now back to you in the studio.
Bongani, I want to say thank you for that update. Our heart goes out to those who lost their life in that shooting, and we do hope that investigation is underway, not only for just the identification of those bodies, but also the perpetrators of this crime. Bongani Ziziba there from the scene of a shooting that have now killed 9 persons and injured 10 others and just outside of a tavern in Bakersdale in Johannesburg. We're going to a short break, shall we? When we come back, it's going to be Creative Corner, and this time we're talking about content creation and how best to do it better. After the break, stay with us.
And you're welcome back. Just like Judith said, this is Creative Corner. And of course, today, content creation is what we're talking about. In Nigeria, well, it's grown from a hobby to a major cultural force. Streamers now, well, shape trends, tastes, and also conversations rivaling traditional media like us here. With influence comes scrutiny, however, and questions about professionalism, accountability, and ethics are now central. The growth of streaming brings both opportunity and challenge. Creators can reach large audiences and monetize their work, but issues like misattribution, sensationalism, and also exploitation of cultural content have become more visible. For Nigeria's creative economy, these are urgent questions about how we value stories, how we protect culture, and also build sustainable careers.
So to help us go into the details of this, and just really bring to fore in-depth analysis in this discussion, we're joined by Akan Ekena. He is also known as AK Streets. He is a music and entertainment exec and also consultant as well, and he just joins us right here in the studio. AK Streets, thank you so much for joining us. I appreciate you for coming on.
Thank you for having me. Good morning, everyone.
Thank you for being here. I do have to start by saying that I worry about social media and how it is changing before our eyes. Mm-hmm. Before, you would request to write people on their walls, and then now you are bombarded with with content every single day. It is a gold mine that is now slowly polluting the earth. Do you get what I mean?
Yeah.
And so one has to ask about, where we see content creation going and the dark side that we're not talking about.
So I was trying to tell somebody something some days ago about the wave we are not ready for when this tide start pulling up. I think the COVID era actually changed a lot of this movement for people realizing that you can actually stream. And the religious sector has most of those impacts because you could stream a lot of church services and all that. But the fear for me then was people don't understand how much people does adapt to things, copy and paste, but don't understand the necessity of it. So when you see the upsurge of a lot of people become content creators overnight, you go to a wedding, you have like 10 camera guys, 10 ring lights. The essence of the content is not being heard anymore, but just to have numbers and engagement. You have the likes of X paying for engagement and all that. So there's a bound need for people to get to key the reasons why these content were made for. Apart from those income, they were made for memories. We used to have photo book and photo albums then, and these were just where we could go back to and see when you come to someone's house, you can look at the photo book.
Yeah.
But now we don't look at photo book because we now see digitalization as a good essence, which is right. But I told someone some days ago, I said, we copy and paste as Africans, but we don't copy to understand. So systems and structures are built around patterns and cognitive organizations. You have economy of the creative sector that I've seen as social face, not economic face. I'll give you an instance. The biggest broadcasting network income in Nigeria is the news sector. And you say Afrobeat is making so much money, but how come the only place that's structured that you can see is the news sector, not entertainment channels? It's to tell you that a lot of things are being facaded and not being really realistic with us. So when you see young people decide to do content, and guess what? I tell someone every time, the reason why you see a lot of content creators are two things. The biggest strength that has pushed people to do this is poverty. Because half of them didn't really study about, maybe in school or even after school, to get one or two education about it. You just see the drive, you start working for you, and you're fine with it.
So monetization is what?
That's the biggest drive.
And you believe that monetization is also its undoing, because when you monetize content, it only means that they're going to churn out as much as they possibly can, and then that's what leads to the brain rot content that we're seeing.
The more engagement you have, the more you get to see clickbaits coming. You may see, you look at the rise of podcasts, for instance. I was telling somebody some days ago, we have broadcasters that are trained broadcasters. So when they ask you questions, they're not saying it because they want to have a drive in conversation, but to have a clarity of purpose. So people ask questions like, so is that what you think you said? Do you think that was right? These are instigative questions. So we now have people that have seen a plow through to use even their friends as bait to get clickbait and views. So nobody has that conversation to say, okay, is this worthy of airing? Because the NBC can't check you as much as they can. So if I see something here, they can check me and see who's that person.
I think you used the best word there, bait.
Yes,
I think bait is what drives content. Now, Judith, you had a concern yesterday. I think you mentioned it in your monologue about a creator who live streamed his attempted suicide. And that was, what's his name again?
Pella.
Now, let's talk about the influence of influence itself.
So the first thing I felt bad for this old growth, because I saw this old pattern arousing for the past couple of months. People get to come live and people defend people for doing wrong things. This is not the first time he's going live on things like this. He's gone live doing things, maybe eating the girl or something.
Eating her?
Yes,
Oh yeah, that was on.
So I think doing an event or so, backstage or so, dragging out something. My question is, so we've really lost moral consciousness to gatekeep people like this. My question is, who is Pella's dad? You don't know. Who is Pella's mom? Who are Pella's brothers? So the cycle tells you back that who owns the bread owns the family.
How old is he?
I think about young chap is
the young chap in his teens though, or
Teens?
20s or so.
20s, yeah.
But it's not that old.
It's not at 25, is it?
No, I don't think so.
So it's pre-frontal
so
lobe
there are
is not
no,
developed.
the boys out of family background. Who is the father of this dude? That's a Benz, worth about millions. We all work hard in this country, and you work, if you have that kind of ride, we want to make your ride that extinct. So I just feel from one portion is the morallessness of our country.
Okay.
The loss of parenthood, the loss of family bonding. We can't, you see young people, young chaps in 17, 16, secondary school having iPhone 16. Who are the parents? And their pockets.
But let's not vilify.
No, yeah.
I don't want to vilify because whether we like it or not, it's not just here in Nigeria. Content creators are, majority of the youth make up content creators. That's jobs for them. However, in the Nigerian instance, I don't know if you agree with me, Judith, it's that this bait we speak about and the lack of gatekeepers, it seems to be what's creating a totally different monster. Now, with such an act as what Pella has done, how does it influence people, followers who have seen this? Who's there to pull the reins and say, okay, this is what should not happen. You can't live stream your... First of all, it's even illegal to actually try and commit suicide.
Has drawn a flag on that already. So my point is, why I come back to that point of families, no matter how you want to gatekeep people, if you lack moral from home, you're going to exceed what you have. There's China doing the same thing, bro. China know how to gatekeep these things. A particular country, I think Austria or Sweden.
Do you think we must?
We should at the time. The way we are, we should. Because let me tell you something.
Restrict teenagers, for instance?
Not teenagers. There should be age limits to most of these things. Basic. I think there should be.
Nigerians were on TikTok Live.
They should be
doing pornographic content.
That's
TikTok
why TikTok
has to flag it. They have to ban those things. And guess what? You not see people seeing it as an escape to, because if this guy is making millions from it, I can make millions from it. There were years ago.
So we have put common sense, we have put wealth over common sense.
There's no wealth, there's money. What is a bigger way? There's money.
I'm using wealth as a word because everyone aspires to and I don't think it's survival, because if you're saying money, then money is survival. But this is, they want to cash out. So it's to get quick mentality that it get rich quick mentality that it is. So it is wealth, right? Because there's dollars attached to it. These guys are paid out in dollars and not naira, and the conversion of it is. And then when you do that daily, you hit your quarters, you need your target, and that means the money goes up. What I'm saying is that we have put money, okay, agreed money or finance or access. You have put common sense, you have put morals for a country that is predominantly and unfortunately hypocritically religious and conservative. We have put everything above all the things that we claim to hold dear and near as a society. Now, away from Pella, away from all of these content creators, who is at fault here? Because you just called family. Is government also needs to be involved? Because the reason why the news arm of media does so well is because there's a regulatory body involved. You have ethics, you have professionalism, you are trained. I didn't get on air until I was behind the scenes doing production. There's a lot that goes, you have to go through all the tiers before you can come on, and they think you're just a pretty face. But there's so much work that goes behind the scenes. You can't just walk into any place and, there's that. But somebody who just wake up, put out a microphone and they start. So how then do you want us to gatekeep this? Who should be gatekeeping it?
So why we come back to society every time, and is because we can't run away from what we have created ourselves to become. When you look at the early 90s to 2000s, you used to wait till 4 o'clock to look at the TV and to watch something inside TV. I was telling a friend of mine, when last did you watch, maybe Taste by Moonlight? The content we put out there, even as independent programs and content producers, are more traffic rewarding than moral rewarding. So if you see people consuming a lot of things like that, you expect that to feed back in society. Now, gatekeeping for me, I will still go back to the fact that if a family unit is strong, the community becomes stronger, society becomes more morally justified. I'll give you an instance. You drive past this route now and you see someone fling out a bottle of empty water on the street. Nobody has been caught doing that wrong. You see that flows back into different sectors of our life, from media, for instance. Gatekeeping is will also come back to where we have, who are the people in the broadcast sector? You see, I was telling somebody something, like 3-4 years ago, I said, my biggest wish is if we can have broadcasters become influencers, which we have lost. Because I will tell you for a fact, we are both media broadcasters for years. I check a lot of you guys' pages. The only time I see broadcasters do photo shoots is their birthdays.
Implicate us, why don't you?
We're busy.
I'm coming there.
We're busy now.
I want to hear the end of this.
So, because there's a structure to this thing.
Yeah.
The broadcaster sees himself as a gateway, but he or she forget that he or she is also a talent.
An influencer.
No, you're a talent first, because you are, after this, you're acting all this for us. You just hear right now, you do live shooting mass. It's a touching thing, but you have to act up to it. So the broadcaster needs to know is an actor, is a presenter, is an artistic talent. Now, when we move out of that place, these guys that you call influencers, I've seen those regions and tapped into those content powers. So they wake up to know how to understand the pages to be posted, pictures are to be posted, curations. They know they have to have a team to do media campaigns for them.
Okay.
When you lose this part by organized people that are just see to know that you have to take photo shoot at least in a quarter, twice photo shoot, your pictures are well studied, your content are placed, and you have a traction. You have people that understand the system that works in that way and feed in there. There's a clear pattern. So when we as professionals don't take those spaces, you have more of Pella. No, you have more people that see it as a solution.
Streets, you're being unfair to us. So you're being no. Okay, see, let me explain. All right, look, to become what you're asking is money.
Not really. Not really.
Wait, hang on a second. All right, let me paint this for you. All right. I don't like content creation. I don't like social media. I'd rather I'm a huge fan of pop culture. There's nothing you cannot ask me that I will not realize because I enjoy pop culture. But that's where it ends. And I enjoy it for my sake in terms of just me and my inquisitiveness, right? Away from that, to be what you're asking is wardrobe changes, photo shoot that is expensive, and to do that you must hire the best hands, and those guys are expensive. You also need strategy in posting them, which means you need somebody who's a social media strategist who can tell you this is what you need. You need somebody to also get you in those rooms, because guess what? All the corporate brands, all the people who are doing all the high-flying events, they go to the actors and the actresses, and there's somebody who is a headhunter who is identifying those talents and put them in a room. And you want to go speak to those guys, you gotta. So it's expensive, and this job is not as expensive. It's not as high flying as the thing.
I don't know what you're talking about. I get paid good.
Let me give you.
Mazino, you got a raise. You don't tell me.
Let me give you a solution to that thing. Every of these content creators you saw, there's a guy called Victor. Victor used to shoot for Sabino. I think Sabino is one of these guys dead as just a regular guy to just shoot. You can't start big and you're not big. You have friends that like you. You have friends that have studios. You just see the first thing to do, you tell us where you're going to. Everybody, check everybody's Instagram page. They have those days that camera is not nice. It's easy to make people that just have a team that understand what you want to do.
Money you just say a team.
Money is expensive. Money is not the first thing.
Time is also expensive for us.
Talent around this. Let me give you an instance. There's a girl called Stephanie Coker. She used to work in the particular station in Ireland. I put her on TV first. I put her wearing carpet because I realized this is going to happen years after. Anytime we talk, I told her, when I told you this, you guys didn't see it. She was wearing carpet, and we had her post on Linda KG, and the thing goes viral. That was the first female presenter to be on red carpet. Because we need to start understanding that there is nothing called a box TV anymore. It's mobile TV.
Okay.
Okay, away from us. Please leave us alone.
So I get this now, and I'm wondering whether the structures that were, and I mean traditional media, also failed the system, where we were unable to convert what we had into the kind of...
We didn't move with the time in terms of trends.
The modernized structures that are now. So these young guys are taking advantage of whatever it is, roguelike, without the regulation, and we failed to do so. Is that also a factor?
It is. We woke up too late.
We woke up too late, exactly.
Because imbibing culture of growth, like you guys are here now, and in the next 10 years, most of us will get older, which are the young presenters we have on board? I'm not saying OAPs, I mean broadcasters. A lot of people don't even see to go back to FRC entry in school to go just or school about this because you think I do a YouTube channel and come back. And when you get to ask them questions, when they ask you questions, you're like, that's not a question because I know our questions sound like. We need the old structure forgot to wake up, but they are woken up anyway, so it's better. Because for instance, I stream you guys a lot. Most of my news channels, like they know in my tab, you open my tab and TV, I don't miss news. Because the biggest money exchange value system is information. In as much as we are saying they've grown to an extent that they have seen the wake up call, for instance, you see you guys wake up to do, this is live instant news, for instance, the Joe Box story. At least I thank God I'm not seeing on a blog, but I can see this live from news channel. Those days, we used to hear the news from the news platform, not the blogs. Now I look at the main news, I see them from the blogs, not even the entertainment channels. So I think there's a wake-up call which has been get by you guys, for instance. News Central for me, I think that you guys have done more of penetration of community news, current trend conversations.
Convergence. Which
is a great thing for you guys. You are more into it now. And if other people can take it, leap into this, I'm also you as broadcasters, I'll come back to that. The moment you don't see it as a stress, it's simple. Let me tell you the truth. There are no more broadcasters, OAP. They are all called talents. That's in English. Because if you are switching to an MC, you're an MC. If you have the garments of the broadcaster, if you are switching the role for an advertorial, you're a model. Those words probably cage most of these systems then, which I think was a problem for us to denounce in our education sectors. So as talent, you are a broadcaster as at now. You are moving to a movie scene, you're an actor. Moving to a video as a vixen, you're a vixen as a character. Those taglines sometimes limit us to penetration. You are saying agencies. You have more connect to agencies than even those guys.
Question. There's this F.A. Carter. I saw a video of him during a live stream, and he was tearing off his clothes. Is that a sale? Is that a sales speech for them to get more streams?
No, I think that's his character. Yeah, that's his character.
So that's a character.
That's his character. Because I remember he's done this not once, not twice.
So to be nonsensical and
that's his character.
Doesn't that point to the audience itself?
Thank you.
So he's giving the audience what they want.
So the audience knows that's his character when it comes to his life. You know he can wear pants. You know he wears towel or wrap towel. The audience you're talking about are people that are called followers of him. Those that joined him when David came on board were new followers from David fan base. The thing we need to target is everybody is intentional about what you're doing. You can apologize later, but you can't tell me you don't know what you're doing when you're doing it. You get? It's to drive traffic.
AK Streets, I wish we could continue with this conversation, but we've passed our allotted time. But I see what you're saying here. I know that traditional media needs to adapt, but I also see that traditional media sometimes adopt some of the things that these rogue guerrilla journalists or content creators do as well. So there's a fine line there, how to adapt and not adopt. We'll get it right in the end.
In modifying our content, how then do you now change the audience as well? Because if the audience is used to nonsensical and baiting, so you're doing so do you also have to tell your so here Johannesburg?
Yeah, we'll not be doing that here on New Central. No, thank you very much.
I'm just saying.
AK Streets, thank you very much for giving us your 2 pence on the issue here about content creation and where it's going and how.
Also, thank you for coming for our jugulars. We appreciate you.
Thank you very much. Let's take position now for our next segment. Do stay tuned. It's going to be a good one. Welcome back. Another big story here. We are talking Unity schools. Now, Unity schools across Nigeria have reopened, marking a step toward restoring normalcy in education. These schools are more than institutions. They represent opportunity, discipline, and national cohesion. We've talked about that on this very show before. The reopening follows closures due to security concerns, raising questions about safeguarding students while maintaining uninterrupted learning. The stakes are high. Security protocols, teachers' preparedness, and emergency plans are under scrutiny. Beyond safety, the reopening highlights the need for infrastructure investment, psychological support for students, and the long-term resilience of public schools.
So to help us unpack this, we're joined by Yusuf Abubakar, as an educationist, and he will bring insight into both policy and practical aspects of managing schools amid security risks. Yusuf, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you for coming on. Schools have been reopened. That's the 49 schools, Unity schools across these regions. I do have to ask, are we ready for them? Are we ready? Are we prepared for having these Unity schools open, even though schools are now on break? But January is just around the corner. So what gives?
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me. It's my pleasure as always. I didn't get your question, please.
I was asking about how prepared we are to open up Unity schools and how can they handle potential security threats going into the new year.
Wow, that's a $1 million question, and thank you for having me once again. I doubt if we're ready, and you just need to look at the directive given by the Federal Ministry of Education. There are loopholes in that directive. So 2 things I must say as opening. The reopening of schools, yes, commendable, but there are 2 non-negotiables that we must look at. One is the safety of our children, and 2 is the continuity of quality education. For me, those 2 are mutually inclusive. we cannot ask children or parents to pick one instead of the other. So for me, it's important we look at both. Clearly, to answer your question, I doubt if they are ready. And to confirm my stance on this, you simply need to read in between the lines as far as the declaration is concerned, the reopening of the schools by the federal government.
So do you think this is premature, the reopening of the unity schools?
Well, I won't use the word premature. I think it's commendable. It's the right thing to do, but there are measures that we need to put in place. For example, I beg to ask, when you say, according to them, the security situation being threatened, that was not clear enough. It wasn't clearly defined as far as I'm concerned. For example, we didn't have clear explanation of what has really changed as far as the security situation is concerned. For me, and parents, for me, do not need reassurance. They need assurance. Once we don't have clarity, as far as I'm concerned, once we don't have clarity, what we have is declaration, and declaration will not assure parents that their children will be fine in school. So first and foremost, the transparency in the security arrangement wasn't there. What has changed? We did not get that in their communication. And if I may add this, we clearly did not have, or forgive me if I may ask, we didn't have independent safety verification. That was very, very absent as far as this is concerned. No third-party validation of the readiness of those schools. And for me, why is it important? Self-assessment, government assessing themselves, for me, weakens credibility. And we live in this part of the world where we are yet to trust government, where government, as far as we are concerned, do not have or have not earned credibility. So you cannot just tell us that you've put measures in place. What are those measures? What are those specifics? Do we have checklists of what you have done?
Right. You just talked about third-party analysis and assessment when it comes to security for the schools. But it looks like the reopening is here to stay. So one has to ask what kind of tools they would have prepared, they would have, on ground, for the children, for those weeks that they've missed in terms of lessons and, examinations, but also most importantly, security presence. What should we be looking at now that will be present and sufficient as the schools have now reopened?
Okay, thank you for that question. For me, what we have on ground now, parents were informed, but they were not engaged. The communication was just a one-way traffic, one-way process. Government telling us what they have done. And as far as I'm concerned, parents are partners in safeguarding. They were informed and they were not engaged. Excluding the parents, fuels fear and resistance. That for me is important. Another question I will ask is, what is the level of staff preparedness? I think that was a bit silent in their declaration. No reference to training for teachers, boarding staff, and administrators. And they are first line safeguarding officers as far as we are concerned. So what are the trainings we have put in place? Staff are the first responders in school emergencies. Now, what we are expecting, and from your question, is a mandatory safety and safeguarding training. I mean, Lagos State did this for us in Lagos State immediately after COVID-19. In fact, your school will have to be certified to reopen. So government will need to do that for itself. And that is difficult for government to assess itself. That's why I'm talking about third party involved. And if you ask again, what we have is one size fits all the opening approach. You cannot tell me that all of the unity schools have the same security challenge. For me, that's also no good.
Yusuf, let me jump on that.
Acknowledgement that security.
Let me jump on that, Yusuf. You've exactly hit the point I was going to make just now regarding the one-size-fits-all approach that we're given here. apparently the biggest issue is security. And you won't compare Unity schools down south to those up north. We've seen what happens up north. And I'm wondering whether this doesn't call for a different kind of approach. Instead of reopening these schools, at what risk? At more lives, at more people getting kidnapped, at the risk of more children getting kidnapped? How about a different approach where perhaps maybe it's an army of teachers that could get involved in homeschooling instead of risking the lives of kids, opening up these Unity schools, just so that, well, we have a little faith on the small security architecture that they purport to be putting together. I don't know, it's a suggestion, and I'm wondering what you think.
Yes, for me, it's the way to go, and fantastic suggestion. I mean, in this 21st century, in 2025, you cannot just be relying on physical approach to teaching and learning. Schools, government must begin to look at remote learning, online learning for our schools. Yes, the investment is huge, but we need to start looking at that at the moment. Is the investment huge? Yes. Is it worth looking at? Yes. And there are various platforms that we can look at for this. Because like it has been rightly observed, we cannot ask the children to pick safety over the continue teaching and learning. Because when a school is attacked, like in this case, what has happened is that not just the four walls of the university that will fall, a child's safety, dreams, and future fall with them as well. So clearly we must look at a remote alternative to teaching and learning. And I must add, the private schools in Nigeria, especially in Lagos and Abuja, have moved ahead of government in this regard. So I agree with you, government should start. It's late, but it's not too late to start looking at options, especially for those Unity schools.
We also do have to factor that these Unity schools are hard to reach areas, and they have an issue when it comes to connectivity, network issues as well. And so there's a lot of infrastructural challenges when you are going to introduce e-learning in areas like that. Maybe radio classrooms can be one that can be used. But away from that, let's talk about confidence, right? Confidence of the parents and guardians. Do you think they'll bring their students back, their children back into school, given all that's happened in the last 2 months?
That will be difficult to if I'm struggling to get that question. Could you please come again, please? You're talking about confidence from parents and school?
I'm sorry, Abubakar. I didn't hear because they were in my ear. What I'm asking is about the confidence. Whether or not the federal government has done enough in terms of allaying the fears of the parents and taking them back to school on resumption day, second week of January. Do you think that the students will go back into their classrooms, given all that's happened in the last 2 months? Have the federal government done enough in allaying their fears? And will the parents have confidence to take the students back?
Yeah, so what the federal government have done is a declaration, and then without clearly defined approach, and that will not inspire confidence as far as I'm concerned. But more importantly, as far as I'm concerned, also not mentioned in their declaration or announcement recently is the student angle. For example, we're not talking about physical safety. We have the emotional and mental safety as well. Children who have been exposed to kidnapping in the past are emotionally not safe, not ready to go to schools. I did not get to hear anything from the government about counseling, reintegrating the student mentally, emotionally as well, getting them ready for school. So it will be difficult for parents to have confidence in the approach that government has taken. More importantly, the students are emotionally not ready because they also need therapy in this case to get them ready to start off. I mean, you don't just wake up one day and expect them to forget what has happened in the past.
Right.
Taking into consideration that in the last 2 years, I think close to about 700 students have been involved. Over 10 schools have also been involved in one form of kidnapping or the other. So it's difficult to inspire confidence as far as government is concerned.
And we also have to just put this here very quickly, that there are some children that are still in captivity. I think 165 of the students that were kidnapped, over 300 were kidnapped, and we do know that, I mean, the figures are shifty. We don't know for certain, but we know over 100 is still in captivity, and that's from the St. Mary's Catholic Church in Papiri, Niger State. And so as we're talking about reopening, there's also a number of questions about those who are still in captivity. Mazino.
Well, thank you very much, Yusuf Abubakar, for joining us. There is plenty of work still to be done as we wait to see whether parents will actually let their wards go back to schools and see what structural or even maybe mental structures have been put in place for these kids, especially those who have experienced these very bad instances from up north in Nigeria. Yusuf, once again, thank you very much for joining us on this session, and we look forward to having you back again. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you very much, and thank you for...
You're welcome. And we are going to go straight into Focus Africa for lack of time, and we're talking about the peace deal collapse.
Now, in Eastern Democratic Republic of Congo, more than 400 civilians have been killed as fighting escalates between government forces and the Rwanda-backed M23 rebel group. Now, this surge comes despite a U.S.-mediated peace agreement that was signed last week, now under severe threat. Tens of thousands have been displaced, and key towns like Uvira has fallen under rebel control, exposing the human cost and fragility of security in the mineral-rich East. The crisis extends beyond the DRC, affecting the Great Lakes region and offering lessons for Africa, including Nigeria. Now, failed peace agreements erode trust, they worsen humanitarian crisis, and they jeopardize regional stability. Understanding why deals fail and collapse and how enforcement mechanisms can work is crucial for policymakers and leaders across the continent.
So to help us understand that, we are joined by Brian Orubin, Executive Chairman, the 16th Council, London, UK. Brian brings expertise to this conversation. Brian, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. Let's begin with the collapse. First off, why do you think this collapse has happened currently?
Yeah, it's a very unfortunate situation. I did say that what we're witnessing in Eastern Congo is not just a sudden collapse of peace. This is the predictable failure of a ceasefire that lacked enforcement. See, the M23 moved into Uvira because the deal that was meant to stop the fighting would never impose real cost for violations. There were no security guarantees, no automatic consequences, and crucially, no binding inclusion on the armed actors themselves. The US brokered a political agreement, basically, not a security settlement. So when it was breached, there was no enforcement shock, only diplomatic condemnation. And the result is what we're now seeing. Territories are changing hands, civilians are fleeing into Burundi, and a crisis being managed rather than resolved. So until regional leverage is translated into real deterrence, and armed groups are constrained or absorbed politically, this isn't going to be the last offensive. It's just going to be the latest one.
So Ruben, I hear you there. You said that the real reason was not attended to, hence this peace deal cannot work. So what exactly is at the center of the conflict? What needs to be addressed?
Okay, you need to deal with... so the thing is, there has to be consequences for breaching the deal. And that does not exist right now. There is no such thing. Okay, so until actors like Rwanda and the M23, until there are real deterrents, there has to be consequences for breaking the deal. The regional powers, for example, need to be able to genuinely support a peace effort. You see, when people don't genuinely support a peace effort, it is because there are benefits for not doing that. See, so there has to be real commitment, and the only way that can happen is if there are consequences. Take, for instance, in the past, when this issue was largely contained. There were sanctions, there were such impositions that, encouraged actors to support the peace process. That is what is lacking. It is enforcement. It's not there, right? That must be good. And you see, the M23 themselves must be able to, they must find themselves within the framework. See, this is the reason why it's not working. And until that happens, like I said, it's going to just be the latest, not the final.
Let's talk about the significance of Rwanda here in this escalation and the M23 rebels, right? What are the regional implications of the role that Rwanda and M23 plays in this escalation?
Okay, so no armed group of this scale operates in isolation. M23 has its own leadership and incentives, but it is also shaped by regional power dynamics, especially the post-terrorist. So the key issue is that they are not acting alone. See, they have supporters. And even though Rwanda continues to deny that, there is an overwhelming evidence that the M23 receives support from Rwanda. So the key issue is not whether Rwanda, has influence. It really does. And that influence can be used to, to support the peace effort. And if there is any regional act with the greatest influence on M23, it is clearly Rwanda.
Those are very, very heavy allegations and saying that, yeah, go ahead. I think we lost you for a second there. You say that Rwanda is clearly Rwanda and the role that they play, right? So let's look at it regionally. Rwanda, DRC, South Africa, and of course all the mediators then. If you were to enforce this peace deal and transparency with the peace deal, if Rwanda is playing such a critical role and it's now tearing apart, what then will now be, what's that last ingredient to make it stick?
There are three things. Enforceable reliance with automatic consequences.
Automatic consequences.
Regional security guarantees that close border escape routes and real geopolitical inclusion at the local level. If you have this, all right, the crisis can be contained. And without those, ceasefires don't end wars. They simply schedule the next round. And we're saying that Rwanda has the influence, really, the leverage to be able to bring M23, to contain M23 because they surely listen to them.
What about the UN? What are they supposed to do now that we have this breakdown? Do they have any responsibility?
Of course, UN has already done something. The ceasefire, the peacekeeping mission has been extended. And they are calling for peace, they are calling for people to return, to talk. So the first thing is to try to bring all the parties involved, all right, and ensure that the peacekeeping mission, is strengthened, So those are the key things that the UN has to do. You have to try to bring all the different stakeholders back to negotiation table. There has to be consequences. We have to go beyond diplomatic pressure. There has to be real consequences. Mm-hmm. And I'm sure right now that talks are happening at the background. I'm sure that some conversations are taking place that may not be open. But that's where it starts. The peacekeeping have been extended. Conversations should continue. And there has to be the regional powers has to be willing to commit to lasting peace, and the UN can help make that happen.
To see how this is played out, right, in this period, should the AU also be culpable as well, as well as the governing regional blocks of that region, as it regards regional and geopolitics? Do you think that AU and those regional governing blocks have a part to play in the de-escalation, escalation of the crisis?
Absolutely. AU definitely has very key role to play. Rwanda is a member of the AU. Same goes with all of the other actors we're talking about. So Rwanda, for example, responds to cost, not appeals. We have to take note of that. And pressure has to translate into real consequences. There has to be consequences for not fully supporting the peace effort. So there's a role that the AU can play. It's part of those regional efforts that can help strengthen the situation and bring lasting peace. But as I did say, without targeted sanctions, conditions, security, cooperation, reputational damage, behavior cannot change. But if these things are put in place, all right, we can see real changes. If it remains rhetorical, the current posture is likely to just continue holding.
I hear you there. Rhetorical it does seem to be. Brian, thank you very much for joining us in this session here for Focus Africa. We'll continue to monitor the situation in the DRC. Hopefully there should be lasting peace. We hope that it will be restored. And if we have any more conversation on this, we'll be sure to come to you to have you back on the show. Thank you once again, Brian.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you.
There indeed would be our last session for today here on Breakfast Extra and indeed for the weekend. But it's been a grand weekend now, hasn't it?
Oh, gosh.
Welcome back once again to your home. And
no, it's not my home. My home is here.
But it is the week for Christmas. Any plans? What are your plans?
So unfortunately, this year, fortunately, this year, the nuclear family is scattered. So there's a new addition to the family, and then big shout out. I'm a two-star general auntie. Yeah,
congratulations.
I got a new niece. Yeah. So Queen Mabel has been born to the world, and so my mother is away doing a mugwa with my sister all the way in the south. So unfortunately for us, it's not going. Fortunately for us, it's not going to be a big house as it should. So it'll be very light breakfast with with the father, with the other members of the family.
Well, from me
who's
to you,
here.
Here's wishing you a merry time this holiday.
Yeah, exciting. I also will come to work, Sha, so we'll do it in the morning.
She's working on Christmas Day.
Yes, I know. Yeah, so we'll do it in the morning, and then we're all excited, and we can't wait for next year when everyone gets to be together in one spot. Yeah.
Well, from us here, we're wishing you a merry time. Don't forget now, Breakfast Central will take over from tomorrow. Join the trio. I'll be Jonathan, Olive, and of course Benga, looking all nice and snazzy and everything. And so we say our goodbyes. Thank you. See you guys next weekend, or maybe here and there during the week. Goodbye.
Until then, bye for now.